I thought it was fascinating that in Tomas's memory, he truly, seemingly, does not remember fleeing the event. And it is only when his wife shows him a video of it that was taken on the cell phone that he sort of cops to his bad behavior. So does our brain, when we are fearful, does that affect the way we perceive reality?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. And it was something I thought about because there are a few explanations for his lack of remembering the event. Now, one is, and which we know from experiments, is that memory is very malleable, right? We know this from eyewitness testimony. We know that in a lab, you can insert false memories into people. You can have somebody believe that they had a story where they got lost in the mall and they really believe that happened to them and it never did. So memories are very malleable, and every time you remember something, you can remember it a little bit differently, and this sort of neural trace can change in your mind. So every time you're remembering something, it could be revised. So we know that that memories are malleable, even if fear is not involved. Now, when fear is involved, it could do one of two things. In some cases, it can make the memory stronger because it marks it as being important. Yeah, and you know this from your life. If you've ever had something really fearful happen to you, usually you remember it in vivid detail because it's important to learn, again, so that if you ever find yourself in that same situation. But there are other situations in which the fear or the trauma is so overwhelming that it becomes too much to actually process, and then it becomes repressed or suppressed in the brain. And we're starting to understand the neural mechanisms of that as well.
It's a survival instinct. I mean,
it is. It is
that kind of trauma.
It's actually very adaptive. So the opposite is like people with PTSD. They have some traumatic event. They can't forget it. It's constantly at the forefront, and it affects their ability to function in everyday life. So having some mechanism in our brain which allows us to kind of dampen down a very traumatic thought or memory is adaptive so that we can function in everyday life. If you were having a breakup with your significant other and you were thinking about it all the time, you couldn't get your work done, so we suppress it. And we know there's a mechanism. So, but the question is, did he actually not remember, right? Or, was he in denial, or was he pretending not to remember? That is not clear. It could be that he just didn't want to think about it. So in a sense, he was, suppressing it until it was just put in front of his face and he had to confront it.
So does our brain chemistry fate us to be a coward? Is he, someone like Tomas, going to be more craven? Just blame it on his brain chemistry?
So I don't think anybody is ever kind of, destined to be anything just because of their brain chemistry. I think that we have certain predispositions. So he might be somebody, for example, that's predisposed.
He's more flight than fight.
Yes, he's more flight than fight. And that's okay. And but that means that if he really wanted to change...
It's not okay. It's not okay.
Well,
as a woman, mother, you're like, it's not okay.
It's not, but, if it is who he is, then that's fine. But if he can at least acknowledge that and say, I want to work on changing this,
right.
He might never be the bravest person ever. There was this quote in Game of Thrones, Ned Stark. He said something like, a man can only show how brave he is when he's afraid. Like, it only is in those times where, it's that immediate response where you can actually, that's where bravery comes in.
It's your crucible.
Yeah. And
it's not that being afraid makes you a coward. It's moving through the fear, right?
Exactly. And that's
what I told myself when I was giving birth without an epidural, right?
Oh my God. No. I did not. I was like, give me the epidural. But yeah, there's different levels of, courage. And so this man might never become, the most courageous person there is. But if he was willing to work on it, he could get, improve maybe a little. But
and there is a scene towards the end of the film when he goes to find his wife, who's sort of been lost in a bit of a snowfall. But then, of course, he's leaving his 2 young children. He's like, wait here, I'll go get your mother. I'm like, no, hold one, carry the other, and then go get your wife.
And then this sort of like blanket of snow comes down. You're like, wait, no. But yeah, he's sort of trying to redeem himself. But, in that case, it was in a situation where he had much more control. He wasn't in fear for his own life.
Right.
And so it was kind of like, yeah, he's willing to sacrifice and protect his family if it's not at the sacrifice of his own, own being. And so it's just as a wife and as a mother to know that if ever, the crap hit the fan, so to speak, he's going to be out the door. That's not a good feeling
Right.
to have, you know, and that's where it really counts. You know, if the house is on fire, he's going to run out and save himself and not try to protect the children. And yeah, I think that the way I saw him as a man was just completely changed. Yeah.